Hello, friends, and welcome to today's episode of Booked. I'm your host, Saffron Asteria, and I'm joined today by Shida Ketzer. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. And
Oh,
I, I just would like to tell everyone who's watching, please don't worry about the quality of your phone. I do not look as good as the photo that is there. I I had a long weekend of trying to sell my books
mm,
to an audience that doesn't really like. So it's in Germany. I live in
mhm.
Germany, so I sold 8 books over the weekend. Everybody,
That's great.
thousands.
That's great.
Yes.
So good.
But
So,
I claim, thank you. I claim that I would usually look better. I don't know.
you look great. I wouldn't worry. You look
Thank
great.
you.
You don't look like you've been trying to flog your book all weekend. So, was it like a big event? Was it just specifically for books?
No, it was, yeah, well, yes and no. There was a huge event. I don't know, they told me how many thousands, but honestly, I forgot. It was a huge thing, and it's a big location. It was an awesome thing.
Mhm.
The only thing is that there was a tent for books that the very, very end of one of the many arms of this like a giant octopus of or like Kragan of the location. So it is fantasy and science as fantasy and role play convention.
Mhm.
Very interestingly and auspiciously named FARC with a
Oh,
K, please.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, so I was in the very end with like there was a tent for books, and I think I was the only one who was selling books that weren't German.
Oh, interesting.
So so it was very nice. I really enjoy it. I attended it several times, and it's
Mhm.
wonderful because there are all kinds of there are clubs and there are people who actually live the life.
Mhm.
And they had like so this time wasn't, but some years ago they used to have zombie weddings, actual weddings.
Oh,
Yes, but
with
like
real zombies or
yeah, well, I hope they were dressed as zombies. Otherwise, I still, I'm rooting for them. I mean, there's no time like now.
love is love.
Yes,
Awesome. Well, did you at least have a good time? I mean, 8 books is very, very
loved
good, but
it.
did you enjoyed the experience?
I loved it. I mean, it is exhausting, of
Mhm.
course, but I just love you know, the whole spirit of. So what I particularly love about this event, and that was one of the reasons that despite knowing that I most likely wouldn't really have audience there because of the language and I wouldn't sell that many books, but I just wanted to go because I, as a like guest attending, just being there, I always enjoyed it. And what I think the particular thing about it, the atmosphere is that there are all kinds of groups. Like there's steampunk, there is diesel punk. There's a whole area where they have like I had took photos that I would upload, but they were like post-apocalyptic, and there were tents that are the people who actually for the weekend live there as if it is sort of Mad Max
Mhm.
era.
Wow. That's
And yes, they're like people who are medieval. There is someone who is Jack Sparrow, and it's
Mhm.
every year like this person is there. So there, and then you have like Darth Vader and Jack Sparrow and some vampire from Victorian era. They all like, and with a samurai, they all taking photos together, and
that's
it's
cute.
wonderful.
Yeah, that's lovely. I always find going to events where people are there for like a specific thing, whether it's a theme or whatever the thing is, always has the best atmosphere because people are there because they really love that thing. And it makes such a
Yeah,
huge difference for the experience, I find.
indeed.
Mm. Well, that's very cool. I'm glad that you had a good time, and those kinds of things can be really exhausting because you have to be like, like approachable the whole time,
Exactly.
about what what you look like, what your face is doing, what your hands are doing, engaging with people and having conversations and things like that. So yeah, I find stuff like that really tiring. I used to have a confectionery company event
Oh,
that, and you giving away free sweets would be easy, but you still have to people. You still have to, converse with them and be like on sales mode all the time, and it's tiring.
yes. Yes, indeed. I mean, it is wonderful, but the social batteries, my social batteries are completely empty. But this
Mhm.
is really lovely here because I have this one, like I only talking to you, but also there are people who are watching this, so it is a little bit, um, we are all safe
Mhm.
and we still get to interact. So I love the online, interaction like this.
Yeah, me too. I don't think I could do this in person. I did consider it for a little while and I thought, nah, because I get dressed from the waist up. So from the waist down, that's like sweatpants. I don't want to have to do the full thing. I've only got enough energy from like here up.
You have a weekend of like Victorian
Mhm,
floating everything with like a large sleeve and
mhm,
big two skirts, two
oh,
really large skirts, and
mhm.
then you have this sort of like tiny portable restrooms, and it was a lot of fun trying to get all of that fabric over the weekend. It's experience.
Yeah, I bet. Was it at least nice and cool? Like, was the temperature pretty good?
It was actually very, very nice. I mean, it did rain a little bit. It is the point where, like, so in Germany, it is, you can never predict. So
Mm,
I remember vividly times wherein, like, I remember vividly because it was like really difficult that day, that it was raining, like pouring rain,
mhm,
and then it got super hot in the middle of, like, it was 15th of August because it's a public holiday,
mhm,
and these things are very common in Germany. The weather that completely switches. So I was sitting there with the sun exactly only for me because it
mhm.
was tent. So my back was like burning, and then an hour later it was pouring rain.
It sounds like Texas because I mean I'm British but I live in Texas and the weather is really similar. Like we had a storm and then I took the dogs for a walk and then I started burning on my face and I was like, what the fuck? Like it's just can't predict it. So you got to pick like appropriate layers so you can take them off and put them on. Um,
Exactly.
yeah. So I know that you speak multiple languages and you live in Germany. I'm sorry about my dog; she's got an attitude. Um,
It's wonderful. I have
so
four cats, so
if they start barking, I'm going to worry.
okay.
But if they make a guest appearance, that's fine. We love cats. So, but yeah, so you live in Germany. Are you originally from Germany?
No, so I am a German national,
Hmm.
um, but I am pretty international, and my father was Kurdish,
Hmm.
so it is
Wow.
interesting sometimes that I try to stay away from any provocative discussions, but sometimes, like, I just express my opinion online very innocently,
Hmm.
and I had people who were like getting very offended on my behalf because I didn't know I represent the identity that I was talking about.
Hmm.
So, and it is a bit, I think it's confusing. I think I have that sort of racially ambiguous I don't know, face, or I got everything. People, sometimes I ask people to guess, and I got everything from Africa, Russia, South America. I don't know. Someone told me something ace. Could be Romania, could be Russia, could be somewhere east of here. And I was like, okay, that's the whole globe, so you can turn around. So it's always when you go, if you go east enough, eventually you would reach it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I claim on my CV that I am fluent in German, but if you ask people that met me yesterday, they might disagree, but it is really depends if I had breakfast or not. I do I do speak Spanish too. I speak Persian and hopefully English, I think.
Yes, I think so. So, do all of the sort of languages that you've learned over the years, do they play a part in your writing at all? Do you write just in
Yes.
English? Do you write in many languages?
Um, what a wonderful question. I'm glad you asked. So I only write in English because I know people who write in multiple languages. I met at least one person who is Swiss French. So she writes in German. No, what? Sorry, English and Swiss French, basically.
Okay.
And she said that she writes the book in English and then she writes it again in French. So she doesn't actually translate it, and there are differences.
Mm-hmm.
I would never. I don't think I can. I can manage to. I tried translating my own work. I could not. It just feels like it's such a, because when I write, there are so many rounds of revisions, and there are rounds when I'm thinking, oh, okay, I should not have two consecutive sentences starting with the same letter. So there's a whole lot of things. But knowing several languages, it did help me. I hope the direction is okay. Seems like it. So
Oh,
there's a whole, it's always the other, sorry.
it's okay.
Okay, so there's a whole, so now you can see that I am using a ring light.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a whole planet, and this is just one side of the planet,
Mm-hmm.
and there are different countries, and I used so have their own fantasy fictional languages, but there is a Lynx language, and it is very closely inspired by Luxembourgish. I wanted to have something Germanic because there is a Prussian inspiration, but as someone said, like the less scary mustachio German dictators. So not the very famous one, the less scary one.
Okay.
It's sort of like 1870s Prussia. Inspired one of the countries, and in the book, like they are the main sort of the main villain.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the ring light is really likes to.
If you tilt it downwards, it might help.
Yeah, I know. It's just a bit. I think it's mirrored, so it's okay. Now better.
I'll put it up on the screen.
Yes. So for the language of, so the main setting is this sort of Prussian, pseudo Prussian, basically empire.
Mm-hmm.
It is a different planet. It is not, Earth doesn't exist there.
Mm-hmm.
But I got inspiration by Luxembourgish because I wanted to have something Germanic sounding,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't want it to be too easy, like just directly German. And Luxembourgish is very interesting. I live very close to Luxembourg,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone there is polyglot. Like you have people who are like when you go to the cinema and you want to buy popcorn, and there are people who are they have 8 flags um, on like pinned to their chest.
Oh,
So they speak like Portuguese and French and Luxembourgish and German and everything. So I wanted to have that aspect in it.
mhm,
And there are other locations, and for example, one of them is inspired by Catalan.
mhm,
So kind of like this Baleares Islands, like Ibiza, Mallorca. So
mhm,
I lived in Catalonia. I lived in Barcelona for 5 years. I did my PhD
mhm,
there. So there are parts inspired by those languages. And I have in the end of the book, this was like a nerdy thing for me, but there's an end part that is like, I think there are 10 extra pages of just explanation and how every word is pronounced, what is the origin, inspiration of for the name, is it German, is it
mhm,
like Catalan or Portuguese and all of this.
mhm,
And it is, in a way, it is good. I wasn't aware of this, but there are more nerds like me in the world. So sometimes I actually got someone to buy it when they seen it. It's been when I
mhm.
was like showing the book and I said, oh, by the way, like this. And they were like, I must have this book.
That's nice.
So you never know.
Mhm,
When you write what you like, you also are able to find fellow nerds and fellow, um, outsiders that you didn't think were the big market.
mhm. Oh, absolutely, because you're going to attract people that have the same or similar passions to you. So,
Yes.
how long have you been writing?
Um, so I think if you ask most people, they would say that yes, I've been writing all my life, and in
Mhm,
a way, I did. So there are somewhere in some deep, deep, dark basement somewhere in my parents' house, probably there are these old notebooks with really horribly written um, novels that were like, I think they are like halfway through, like maybe maximum 6, 7 chapters in, and they are like some really dramatic things that only a 14-year-old could possibly connect this so many over the top ideas.
mhm.
And those, there are a couple of them that I still hope that one day I would write a version of them.
Mm,
But I I was living in very I don't know, yeah, an environment that was very sobering.
mm,
So when I was 14, I wanted to be a script writer, I wanted to be an actress.
mhm.
And then I knew that I should never do that
Okay.
because there was no hope for it, no hope for success. And I wanted to get out. You know, um, I wanted to get out of where I was.
Mhm,
So I studied informatics and then got a position for master's in Barcelona
mhm,
and did my PhD. And I was working
mhm,
as a scientist for a long time until someone in the middle of Corona lockdowns, like a lot of people, my life also turned upside down, and I decided, what do I actually want to do? Like what?
mm,
Because I never, I was never in the position of wondering what is my dream.
mm,
That was never, so it didn't matter. And then at that point, I thought, okay, I lived so long and I didn't do what I wanted. Not
mm,
that it wasn't like, I mean, I am pretty, um, you know, close to what one imagines as a computer nerd. I
Mhm.
have always been. So it did fit me a lot, but
Mhm.
I didn't think that was so daring. That was something that it was the height of my dreams. And then I started writing sort of like my own memoir, but I thought nobody would want to read my memoir because I'm not I don't know, I'm not a former prince, or I'm not a celebrity, or people like to read those, right?
Mhm.
So I wrote it as a fantasy.
Mm.
um, I made like alternate version of a lot of things, and
Mhm.
I mixed some things. This stuff that happens to my character happened to me when I was a child. So the war that she escapes
Mhm.
was the war that happened when I was growing up,
Oh, wow.
but mixing that then with the 1800s, 70s
Mhm.
Prussia. So that's, I mixed it up. And that, the advantage of that is I no longer have to worry about, people getting offended,
Mm.
people getting um, faced with questions about religion, about race, about politics.
Mhm.
So, if you judge their religion or judge the party they're voting for, there is a certain, um, unconscious prejudice.
Mhm.
No matter how much people want to be open, there are things that they're not used to.
Mhm.
But if you're just approaching it with a different perspective, so for example, the Quill character,
Mhm.
she is um, she is well, one of the last survivors of her race.
Mhm.
And the reason they decimated her people is that, on this planet, most of the people are only able to perceive cold colors, blue and green.
Mhm.
And the nobility can also see yellow colors and gold,
Mhm.
and only her people can see red shades of color.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
thank you, their blood is red, and nobody else, because different races, they have different colors of blood, green, blue. Like the commoners, they have blue blood. The royal family has golden blood, and her people, they were the only who had red blood. And to everyone else, their blood looks some sort of like dark grayish, because
Mhm.
they don't have that, in their, they're not able to perceive it. So they think that these people are evil,
Mm.
which is an easier way justifying it with their own religion, which is none of the Earth's religions. So I think people can put aside their background, their religious backgrounds, and really think about that. So this is much easier for the empire to justify than saying that, well, her people, they have huge, very prosperous minds.
Mm.
Um, and, it's ultimately about Val's, about greed, what happened to her people, but it's much easier to justify it with some belief, right?
Mhm.
So I think that people can much easier like relate to this aspect. Having red blood is a reason to be eliminated, so people feel that it's wrong,
Mhm.
than the color of your skin or the religion you have or the political views you have.
Mhm. So when you were sort of designing this world and coming up with this setup for
Mhm.
you know, your magic system and things like that, did you have any intention of actually directly relating it to things that you believe or the things that you care about, or did you sort of set your own personal beliefs aside, or is it just a vehicle for that?
So the original, so when I started in 2020,
Mm-hmm.
more or less. I started getting serious about finishing a novel and with the hopes of ever publishing it.
Mm-hmm.
So before that, I've been writing but never finished anything. And when I was writing that, it was really putting everything out. And I had um, sort of like um, what is it? Critic partner? Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I was forgetting the term.
That's okay.
And she was really pushing me, and she was telling me, okay, but why your character feels that way? And
Mm-hmm.
then I got to dig deeper, and it was cathartic. It was the only therapy I ever had that actually helped me understand and helped me work out things that happened to me, things that I've done, and why a character thinks that way, why they react that way. And it was, the fact of writing this as a character that wasn't me, even though it was first person. Writing it as someone else and writing it in different, slightly different, well, a lot different, but every the setting is historic, and writing that made me capable of really talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
about things that I couldn't face personally.
Yeah.
So it was easier to say what she feels and what she went through and why she does something, why she says, or why she reacts so strongly to something that maybe others would find pretty normal.
Mm-hmm.
This was much easier. So there were things that I changed also based on the character because I like something
Mm-hmm.
that certain beliefs that by working out, by writing those dialogues, by writing those internal thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
it helped me improve a little bit the way I process things.
Okay.
But ultimately, I think that whatever any writer writes and publishes, it must be deep down, this must be a lot what they believe.
Mm.
Um, if not, I mean, it's very hard to fake it and still be, you know, connecting to the reader.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you also have to write characters that are adversary to, for example, your hero or heroine,
Mm-hmm.
and these are, putting yourself in that situation. Sometimes it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 weeks ago, there was another convention that I attended, LuxCon in Luxembourg,
Mm-hmm.
and I was at on a panel discussion, and one of the audience asked, like, how would you write these characters? I mean, how would you write a villain?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually liked villains, so I don't think by definition just difficult to write a a villain. I mean, good villain. It's hard to write because you really have to make them um, really great at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but also the character of Killer Quill, she's an assassin,
Mm-hmm.
and well, her job is to kill people,
Mm-hmm.
and that is that wasn't very hard to put myself in her mind, not because of the killing, but because I mean, she has feelings, she is a human, she has reasons. So it is a version of um, that, you know, a lot of human beings could be capable of things when they are pushed to. But there's an adversary character, the sort of ultimate villain
Mhm.
there, who hurt this character.
Okay.
And that ultimate villain um, was a, a representation of someone who hurt me. And
Mhm.
this is really hard to put myself in that position, right? To put myself in the mind of someone who hurt me.
Mhm.
Um, it was really like, I think honestly, the hardest thing I ever written was the part with his dialogues.
Mm.
Um, so it is a huge challenge, but if you don't do it, if you really don't push yourself, when you look at it as a reader, you would see there is something missing.
Mm.
Um, it's like you know, a photo is still like if you touch it, it doesn't have that depth. And
Mm.
I don't know. I think that description is maybe very basic, maybe something that everybody has said, but it is still very true
Mm.
that it lacks that depth if you are just trying to use some character archetype without really putting yourself in their position.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think it, to have a believable character, you have to have a lot of background and motivation, and there has to be a point to that character being there, not just for the sake of being there for being evil and just like, oh look, I have a villain, aren't they so evil? But when you have like when you can read that character and go, oh, I've met them before, and it reminds you
Yes.
of real people that you've experienced in your life, it makes the whole thing, when you're reading a story, reading a book, short story, poetry, whatever it is, it makes it feel so much more relatable and believable. And then you get the opportunity of actually immersing yourself. Sometimes that's not very comfortable, but I think it's
Yes.
important, especially if you have, the story type that requires a villain for it to move forward. Because not all stories have them, but I love a villain. They're my favorite. Especially when they're
Yes.
done right, because I love to see people doing, like as you said earlier, being pushed to the edge and doing things that, we all think, oh, I'd never do that, or I'd never be capable of that, but see how far you get pushed to see, if that
Yes.
is
Yes.
actually true. Yeah.
It's very, very true. And that is actually something that, like, so, there is a line from, so, uh, there's a writer, there's a line from a book that I've read a
Mhm.
long time ago, and it said that the thing about weird little girls is that they grow up to be weird women. And when I was as as long as I remember, maybe I was 5 or 6, I
Mhm.
had crushes on villains always, and they were like really over the top villains, like villain, like
Mhm.
I remember one of the Star Wars, one of the um, from the, I wouldn't name the character, but it
It
was one
it
of the
wasn't
evil
it
ones.
wasn't Emperor
It-
Palpatine, was it? Was it
yes.
Palpatine?
Not my fault.
It's the cloak, isn't it?
It is. I mean, I was tired. Like, okay, I don't think it was when the movie came out, but it was, so I was very young, and I always had a crush on villains. Uh, and there were some of them, they were, I don't know, like I would watch, something that is really like for example, I watched Titanic, and I like so the fiance, Rose's fiance. So I don't know. I never followed the hero.
Mhm.
So with this book, with Killer Quill, I wanted to create a character that I could root for.
Mm.
So she is an anti-heroine. That
Mhm.
is more my, my thing, and my something that I can root for.
Mhm.
So she is not, she's not like a Darth Vader level villain. Um, she has questionable morals,
Mhm.
but there is good in her, and there is harshness in her. And the tagline on the book is a line that she actually says to a different character, that is, "This world, my dear, is a slaughterhouse of noble ideals." And that is what she believes, that she started being this really innocent and like caring about animals and caring about people, and the world crushed her, and they cut her, and they belittled her and took everything she had, and the dignity, everything. And then she, during her, basically the aftermath of that, during the 10 years after that, she realizes that, if you live long enough, um, you would have a different view of the world. And
Mm.
if you, the more you survive, the more you understand the tough situations that would make people do unimaginable things.
Mhm.
Of course, at the same time, the one who really hurt her, or the one who really hurt me, um, they, it's not that they are innocent, that they are, what they did is justified,
Mhm.
but it's not so easy.
Mhm.
So the point is that, okay, for example, I'm a neurodivergent person, and I've heard this a lot when I had a disagreement with someone, or someone really said something horrible to me. And this happened several times, that others told me, "Oh, but this person is neurodivergent." And I thought, well, so am I. That doesn't give me the right to be horrible to other people.
Mm.
Um, some, having, it's not always like, it doesn't justify something, but
Mhm.
it makes you understand. So I know where that person coming from.
Mhm.
That doesn't make them what they did right.
Mhm.
A lot of times I have to do things that I don't want to, and not do things that I really want to.
Mhm.
Um, like, there there is a difference between, like, evil. It is, we like to think of it as this very clear question, and I do believe in right and wrong being absolute, but
Mm.
in the sense that if you put all of the circumstances, all of the factors that were involved in, okay, someone, like, if Quill kills someone, is
Mhm.
it right or wrong? Were their life in danger?
Mhm.
Were they paid enough? um, so Quill has this aspect that she says that she kills this her targets,
Mhm.
not because they deserve it, even though they do,
Mhm.
but, and not because she gets paid a lot of money, which she gets, but because it is her job. And there is a case where one of the targets offers her a lot of money, for her not to kill him, and she thinks that, what a horrible world would it be if you cannot trust the assassin to do their job.
Mhm.
If an assassin promises to do something and you cannot. So she has certain rules, and she has her code.
Mhm.
And deep down, maybe there is more to her, because she doesn't kill any guards, any maids, any innocent bystanders. But, but she says that because she's not paid to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, she fights with one of the guards and she tells him, okay, you're lucky that nobody who wants you dead can afford me. I think she she doesn't want to think that she has good in her anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes these are also ways to protect oneself from, when you try to like put your emotion aside to not feel it, makes things easier. But of course, it's always there.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's interesting when people are able to write difficult characters that have to make difficult decisions, and it's interesting to me to see what the writers think is the perfect justification for wrong behavior, because then I'm like, oh, okay, so what is acceptable to you as a person, or is it just acceptable in this world to that person? It's fascinating to me. So KP Malloy has just said that Quill was a great anti-hero. It's lovely
Oh,
compliment.
thank you so much.
But yeah,
I mean,
so this time has gone by so quickly. We've already been talking for 40 minutes. But I always ask the same two questions at the end of every show. But before I do that, was there anything about your written work that you wanted to share with us before I ask my last questions?
you mean as like an excerpt,
Whatever you'd like
or
to
in
do,
what way?
whether you want to tell us a little bit about what to expect, it's totally up to you.
So there are a few things, like some of the lines that um, I particularly like. I was actually looking for. It would have been nice if I had, um, kept like a note there that I could now read for you, because I think
Pressure.
it's an yes, but yeah, it's an amateur thing to prepare, right? I think. Um, but there is um, there is, for example, a line for one of the characters. So I have in this book, I have so Quill is the main character, but there is also a high screw, and there is kind of like a found family, and there are several characters that they have POV, so they have their point of view um, explored in the book, in limited, so because it's not a very long book. But one of them, for example, is a non-binary character, and they're basically so they are able to change, like shapeshift, but not like into a werewolf or into a different thing. It's just that within the human physicality, they could alter their features. So they could steal someone's face, basically look at like a different person. So that
Wow.
also reason for them to not be really limited to a certain gender, because it's just doesn't make sense for them. And there is a line from this character that says, two kinds of people make the most dangerous foes: those too foolish to fathom the full consequences of their actions or inactions, and those too petty to care. In that, he was a double threat. So they're saying this about a character who is about to kill them. Um, and another thing that I wanted to mention is that during this LuxCon, um, my fellow panelists, they were talking about how they were made aware of their tells as writers. So other people telling them that, oh, you always do that, and we were not aware of that. And it turns out that one of my things that I didn't know I did is killing my characters at the beginning of the book. So the book starts with Quill turned 16 on the day she died. And then there's an entire book with her. So she, of course, isn't like dead forever, right? So she kind of dies, but the magic keeps her alive. And I would, I think I personally am not a fan of things ending in cliffhangers, anything. So I like to start with a cliffhanger and go up and just raise the stakes. So I was made aware that I have a thing with, doing that to my characters.
That's funny. What a tell. I mean, if you're going to be known for something, you might as well be known for killing your characters at the beginning of it. So before we wind the show down, I'd like to ask you 2 questions before you go. So the second to last question is, what does success look like to you as a writer?
It is a great question because it is such a ever-changing, the answer to that question is so difficult. It is, in general, what success or for example, also what happiness is, right? So if you ask me this 2 years ago, or if you ask me the same thing maybe 2 weeks from now, my answer might be different. So I started with the hope of traditional publishing, and I haven't completely lost that hope, but it's getting more and more difficult. And I also spoken to some even best-selling traditionally published people who enlightened me about how it is not the level of success that people from outside think it is. So it is very hard and it's very elusive to define it. It's really like, what is happiness, or what is love, or what is, I don't know. For me, at the moment, I think success would be being content with where I am. And that is always a difficult thing for me because I was raised like from, my family and the mentality. I was raised to never be content with what I achieved. So it is a very difficult battle. It is a hopeless battle. At the same time, the success would be achieving the level that I am finally able to accept my achievement, whatever that is, and be happy with what I am and who I am and where I am. And that would really be the success, because I am a type of person who, for example, when I was working as a scientist, for years, I was like hoping and working and dreaming to get published in a very high level venue at a conference. And as soon as I got accepted, I thought, oh, maybe they weren't that good.
Interesting.
So I feel like basically whatever I achieve, as soon as I've reached the finish line, that finish line disappears for me. So the success, honestly, and I turned that into my therapy session for me.
It's okay.
But success would be one day to be able to think that, you know what, I did good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know to what extent I would ever get there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good time maybe that I show this little girl. She is
Oh.
sort of like my dragon alter ego, and I said that I was in the quarry trenches. So she actually has a helmet. Sorry, it's the writer.
Adorable. Oh my goodness.
Yes, and she has a little book.
Oh, stop it. That's adorable.
So I actually had her with me, and she was like kind of hanging there, flying, and it attracted a lot of kids to my table, even though my books aren't really for little children. So it was a little bit like there would be people who would like their parents would ask me, "Oh, can my kid read this?" And I was like, "Depends if your kid." Is as traumatized and as I was in their age, yes, probably they would love it, but I hope not. I hope your kid would not need to read this book at that age. I hope they had a good childhood. So yeah, so I think the success for me is when this this little girl doesn't have to wear her helmet and can be happy in her scales, can feel confident in her scales.
It's a very good measure for success, and I think that we should all start measuring success in dragons.
Yes.
I think that'd be very.
By the way, I made this just,
You made it.
yes.
It's amazing.
Yes. Thank you.
Fantastic. Have you thought about making them to sell them at the book conventions?
I did, but when I told them for how much I would part with them, people just walked away. It would be very expensive, I think, because I don't know how other people who make them, I've seen these for extremely low prices that I was shocked. I was thinking like that would be a month of work for me. How could you sell this for like, I don't know, $30 or something? It's so much effort.
Yeah. Oh, well, just do it for you then. It's probably for the best.
Yeah, I could do like collector's edition if someone wants their dragon to be made by a writer who's also has existential crisis.
I'm sure there's some money to be made in an existential crisis dragon.
Yes.
Amazing. That's excellent. So, the last question that I'm going to ask you today is if you could go back to the beginning of your writing career. So, let's say like the 2020 ish mark when you
Yes.
first started taking it super seriously. If you could give yourself any advice at that time, what advice would you give?
Um, this is a great question because I do have answer for it. Finally, a question that I have it is easier to answer because I guess it might be different if the more um, I spend time and I get experienced, the hopefully the better my answer would be, and the hopefully I would reach a point where I would know enough. But I can say that what I'm really regretting is letting querying process
Mm.
um, crush that motivation and drive that I had. I think that I was a better writer. I'm a better editor now.
Hmm.
So there was a time I remember the last chapter of, so there is one of the chapters of this book
Mhm.
that it was the last chapter I've written and before I started querying. Um, I wrote that chapter in a day, and that is a chapter that has changed very little since then. It was in a
Mm.
very good condition at that point. And I
Mhm.
just had this energy, and I was just like, um, you get always this like writing montage, right? That the person just starts like at the typewriter or at the computer, they just write, type, type, type. And I just wrote this, and I had this fire and this energy in um I I was really top of the world. It was just the
Mhm.
feeling of being able to do that, being capable of that. And um that was end of a year before I started querying. I think I started querying in 2023.
Mhm.
And then by every crushing form rejection,
Mhm.
um, you the thing is that we tell people that you shouldn't let negativity get to you,
Mhm.
whether it is a form rejection, which basically says nothing. It just says, um, this agent would not pick this up. It might be a masterpiece. It might be the worst thing ever,
Mhm.
but it's not saying any of that, right? It just says that this agent, um, didn't think that that would be the best bet they can make
Mhm.
to to sell that book, right? And it might be because they already have one, like their client is writing exactly that or something very similar. There could be all kinds of reasons, but we're telling people, this positive um, uh, like thinking, and this motivational quotes, this hang in there,
Mhm.
and people have sort of feeling that there's a noose around their neck, and we tell them hang in there,
Mhm.
right? So whether it is that case or whether it is I don't know, someone who struggles with their looks or with their weight or with
Mhm.
whatever it is, if they want to be more muscular, or if it is something about uh, being harassed or being discriminated against, and we say that it shouldn't get to you, and we are basically putting the responsibility and the fault at that person.
Mm.
And it is, you know the first time someone calls me ugly or calls me fat or calls me a bad writer, okay, the hundreds, the 900th time, at some point it gets to me, right? So it
Mhm.
is not possible to really shield yourself against that. So
Yeah.
what I would have wished to do, to be able to do, was to keep writing
Mhm.
without stopping to process the rejections. So I
Mm.
did that. I wasn't planning to.
Yeah.
It is very difficult to, to apply this advice to not stop. I told my critic partners that I am not going to stop, and I did. Um, So this would be my advice, but at the same time, this is something that it's not that I didn't know it. I
Mhm.
didn't know how difficult it is to do.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been, maybe if I should have um, been more, you know, um, aware of how hard it is,
Yeah.
how hard it is to shield myself, maybe I would have resisted more.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, hindsight is 2020, and one of the reasons why I asked that question is largely to help the people that are watching this. because if they're at the beginning of their writing journey and they can avoid making these mistakes that we make, slowing ourselves
Mhm.
down and not reaching our potential, I'm hoping it'll help them in some way, because you can't change the past unless you have some sort of
Indeed.
machine that I'm not aware of. Um, but at the end of the day, I think it's important to acknowledge like where you started, where you are now, and how you intend to move on and continue and improve all the time, because that's the only way you're really going to find success, in my opinion, is just to keep going and keep doing your best.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's
mhm,
impossible to do, uh, you know, the best you can do is your best, right?
mhm,
But it is harder than one thinks. It's not impossible, but it is so easy um, to get affected after many rejections,
mhm,
many like they are. I had cases where, for example, a beta reader, and they are wonderful. Like every beta reader is doing their best, and they are offering their opinion, and they are awesome people. And sometimes people think that if I talk about wrong, advice, that I am being ungrateful, and I'm not. I'm just thinking that, the meaning well, it's not always um, results in like being helpful. Actually, there is a German saying that says basically. Um, uh, like a, a good deed.
mhm,
Meaning well is the opposite of a good deed, something
mhm,
like that. Like it's a translation. So
mhm,
you could be giving very good, very well meant advice, and I would know very clearly that this was definitely wrong, and still that pushes me to think that okay, I can do better and I can do better,
mm,
and that is not a bad thing, but it should not get in the way of um, just just doing it. And I remember a reviewer for a scientific conference um, uh, discussed and basically campaigned for our paper to get accepted, and because of that person, this anonymous reviewer, we actually got accepted.
well, that's cool.
And their their advice was that let's not let perfect get in the way of very good.
Mhm,
So I think this is maybe the ultimate takeaway from what advice I would be giving myself,
mhm.
um, to the version of me when I started. And I hope I can actually apply it one day, to be honest.
You will, you will. So it just takes time and effort and consistency. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I so appreciate your time. It was so lovely to get to know you. Everyone that was watching live, thank you so much. I don't know if you heard my dog grumbling. She's moody today. Um, if you watch live, thank you so much for being here. If you're watching the recording, thank you also so much for being here. If you want to have a look at Killer Quill or anything that Shida has going on, there's a QR code here. So if you're watching on another screen, you can scan it. There is also a link below. I've made it very easy for you. So you should go do it. Go have a look. But thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'm going to wave and I'm going to say goodbye.
Thank you so much for having me. Um, it was wonderful. It was wonderful talking to you, and I'm very glad, and I'm very grateful to be on your podcast, and I hope that we get to talk, on other occasions, and maybe one day we even meet in real life.
No, I'd love to.
So it was wonderful, and I also greetings to your wonderful dog. I
Oh yeah,
love I love the voice.
she's
It
yeah,
is wonderful.
yeah, she's very moody. She's just got
It's
an attitude. If
oh,
I'm not paying attention to her, apparently I'm horrible, and she likes to let me know that I'm a horrible person.
did I mention I have four? Well, four cats have me as their human, so I
That sounds
have no
good.
ownerships. I belong to four cats. So Moody, I mean, they're cats. So
The ultimate mood machines, yeah. Well, thank you again so much, and I will see you on the other side. Goodbye.
see you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.